What would you say to Indian research institutes like IISc, IITs that they can do to retain their PhD talents? So hello everyone, today I am at IISc Bangalore with a researcher here. He has research experience at IIT Kharagpur, IIT Gandhinagar and now at IISc Bangalore. So we're going to get to know what is the current state of research in India, because IISc Bangalore has become the top 100 research institutes of India now. So, hi, can you please introduce yourself?
Yeah, so hello everyone, my name is Kunal Sahu. I'm a research intern at IISc Bangalore. As Harnu mentioned, I previously worked at IIT Gandhinagar and Kharagpur, and I explore various applications of AI in general.
Yeah, and he has explored all the dream fields people want to: robotics, AI, LLMs, and that's fascinating. That also in his undergrad, and now he's researching. His goal is to get into PhD, and you already got into where?
So I've officially got my PhD offers from IIT Patna, IIT Gandhinagar, IIT Bombay, Computer Science, and I have verbal confirmations from IIT Delhi and IIT Gandhinagar as well.
That's fascinating. So he is going to stay for PhD in India, which is really rare. So how did you, build up your profile? You got into private college in Gujarat. So private college mein jaane ke baad, how did you build your research background and profile? How did you get interested in research?
So yeah, just like every first year CS undergrad, I always wanted to work for some good MNCs, crack those 35-40 LPA jobs. And as every other CS undergrad, I started doing competitive programming, explored web development, Android, cross-platform, everything. I did not like it way too much because I felt I'm really more oriented towards math and theoretical sciences in general. And then I came across deep learning. I started exploring deep learning.
How you got into deep learning?
So there was this one professor from my college. He introduced me to deep learning. I started studying under him informally.
In first year?
Yeah, I think during the end of my second semester.
Okay.
Yeah. So I started exploring deep learning. I started studying with him, then did some basic projects around it. And then and I did it till the end of my second year. And after second year, I got an opportunity to do my internship at IIT Kharagpur. So I did my internship.
How that happened? Okay. Like, opportunities grabbing is two ways. One, sitting at home and applying. घर बैठ के आप apply करते हो, referral मांगते हो, professors को email करते हो, they don't reply. Second is just knocking doors and going there. Like, finding people who work under those professors and like reaching out. So how did you get those? Like, आप ऐसे बता रहे हो, everything is straightforward and easy.
Okay, so what happens is your professors in any college could be one of the best head start for your research career, because most of the professors in India have done PhD from some really good institutions. So at my college, most of our professors have done their PhD from either IITs or NITs. So I had this very good rapport with one of my professors who had done his PhD from IIT Kharagpur. And then he recommended me to his PhD advisor, who invited me to do my research internship at IIT Kharagpur.
Okay. Fascinating. Okay, so now you got research opportunity into deep learning in your first year.
Second year, after the end of my second year.
Okay, in your second year, which is extremely rare, you went to IIT Kharagpur for it.
Yeah.
Fascinating. So how did that go?
Yeah, that was actually fun. So that was the first time I encountered research in general. And the moment, so it was I think I was at Kharagpur for just 1 or 1.5 months. But that research experience really determined me to pursue a research career.
And you wrote so many papers, 2 papers in Kharagpur, right?
1 paper in Kharagpur.
And right now he has 6+ papers. So
yeah.
We'll talk about the details soon. Okay, you got 1 paper in 3 months at Kharagpur.
1.5 months.
1.5 months and 1 paper done.
Yeah.
How that happens?
So basically, any research problem, you start to identify the problem. For me, it was the problem was how do you identify native language of a person from their non-native language speech. So for example, I am Odia, you are Punjabi, but we are talking in English. So my challenge was, based on our English conversation, can AI systems identify whether I am an Odia person or you are a Punjabi person? So that was the problem statement I tackled. So any research problem, you first formalize the problem statement, then you study what existing work has been done around it, what are the gaps that you can address,
and
then
writing
start
down.
working on it.
And writing down. But like getting that paper, okay, writing in 1.5 months is maybe not that hard, but getting it published, how long it took you to publish that paper?
So again, conferences and journals can be little tricky. So your research might get completed by 1.5 months. I was lucky that I got it completed by that time frame. But publishing usually takes a lot of time. So that paper got 2 rejections, and now I guess it got accepted finally in January 2025.
In top journal or like what kind of journal?
So it was a conference called, I forgot the name, FRSM, Frontiers of Research in Speech and Music.
Like national conference?
It's a national conference.
So like national level publication in second year. Okay, by the way, we are entering the main building of IISc Bangalore. Fascinating, so beautiful. This building looks so cool. Okay, so now like you have written 6 papers so far. So can you share what are the top journals you have published into?
So one paper is published, other papers are still under review. But we have submitted to some really good places like Transactions on Parallel and Distributed Systems. Then we have one submission to FGCS. Then we are also targeting one conference in robotics, one national level conference. So yeah, all these papers are still under the review cycle. And yeah, publishing generally takes a lot of time, but your research can happen fast.
Okay, very nice. So like here, like we were talking about top research institutes in the world, right? Yahan pe like professors, top professors have 14 quality publications. Aapne mujhe dikhaya. What was the website?
So for computer science, our conferences are ranked into different categories. So if you want to identify a good institution or a good prof, you can always look up at csrankings.org. So that is this website which curates all the A-star publications done by institute, and it's aggregates it across continents, countries, professors, areas, etc.
Totally. And A-star publications were highest in the last 2 years. So what we did was we picked the year 2023 to 2025. We didn't pick 2015 to 2025 because that would be highest US. But 2023 to 2025, top 4 mein like the second number was Tsinghua University from China. It was fascinating. And like, you know, one is top is CMU with the top faculty publishing 45 A-star papers. And here it's 14 A-star papers. Still fascinating. That makes it one of the like top 100, you know, world-class research institutes in the world. So your research into AI got kick-started at IIT Kharagpur, we can say. Okay, so in 1.5 months, you learned, what did you learn?
So so that was a really new domain for me. So before that, I had done deep learning and specifically applied it for computer vision applications. But there I was working around speech, which is again an entirely different domain. So you learn how to learn, like I got to learn a lot of new things, like how do you process audio signals, how do you interpret it. And there is one interesting thing where you can actually visualize an audio signals. So all my learning did not go in vain. So you visualize the audio signal in like an image and then apply all those vision models on top of it.
Amazing. So now this was your first year. Now next you have written 5 more papers after that. So how did that go after IIT Kharagpur?
So after IIT Kharagpur, I was parallelly working at Geo as well, remotely. There we were working on some 3D computer vision problems.
So part-time?
It was part-time.
While in your second year, while you were in your
second year.
Okay.
So IIT Kharagpur and Geo went in parallel. After that, I worked at a few startups, tackling some interesting problems. Again, not from an internship or career perspective. It was just because I was liking the problems I was working on. Then after that, after IIT Kharagpur, I went to attend IIT Patna's winter school. It was organized by ACM, and there I got a lot of exposure towards large language models in general, large language models, reinforcement learning, etc. And then I started learning about these things, and then I saw, okay, apart from vision and language, there is something known as unsupervised learning, reinforcement learning as well.
So you backtracked. Pehle aapne deep learning sikhi, which is rare. People learn, you know, machine learning first and then deep learning. So because you got opportunity at Geo, you backtracked back from deep learning to you connected the dots backwards to machine learning. So dono aapne sikhe, and then you got the opportunity at Geo.
No. So while I was at IIT Kharagpur, I was working on deep learning for these language identification tasks. I had prior experience with vision, so I got my opportunity at Geo. And after Geo, after I guess my 5th or 6th semester, I don't remember the timeline exactly, but during my 3rd year, I attended the winter school at IIT Patna. So there I got to learn a lot more about classical ML, large language models, RL in general.
That also with cold email?
No, so we have these societies throughout the world. So there is one known as Association of Computing Machinery, ACM. So ACM organizes these winter schools and summer schools across a lot of IITs. So a professor from that specific institution proposes a curriculum that they would be teaching in a span of, let's say, 15 days or 30 or a month. And then we apply there, and then they shortlist a list of few students, and then we go and attend lectures of these world-class professionals and faculties.
So wahan se, like, that was basically, we can say that professors were there. That opportunity you got by knocking doors. Aise ghar baith ke email karke nahi hua wo.
No. So you have this application form, and then you try to find out some mutual connections. You try to reach out the faculty and that things. Research is more about networking. So
I mean, so in your college, in your private college, what was the name in Gujarat?
So I did my graduation from Pandit Deen Dayal Energy University.
In Gujarat. So what kind of friends you surrounded yourself with in the first few years of your undergrad? What made you who you are today?
Okay, so my college is very much famous for its volume at which students go to abroad, specifically Canada and US for their MS. And also it's a private college, so it has to come on top of the NIRF rankings. So our institution in general focuses a lot on research. So professors encourage students to write research papers under them and publish it at several places. So from there you get a research environment in general. So all of my friends have been working on some research problems. Few of them then got placed at some good companies. Few of them got placed at some good MS institutions. So they'll be flying to US this cycle. And yeah, so you collaborate with friends, you participate in several hackathons, challenges, you study a lot of topics in groups, you discuss, and then you learn. So friends have played a very good role on my development.
Very nice. Now you are here at IISc Bangalore. You have experiences from top IITs and also from top professors all around the world. You've worked with world-class professors here at IIT Kharagpur, IISc Bangalore, IIT Gandhinagar. So what do you think IISc has in India what no other college has?
So one thing is IISc was established for higher education. I'm not talking just about undergrad programs. So IISc has this very good quality postgrad courses as well. And here majority of the population that you'll see are either enrolled in an MTech program or a PhD program. So IISc has this very vibrant research culture from the start itself. So the institution, when it was established by Tata sir, it was proposed to Tata sir by Vivekanand sir. So the story was they were going over ship somewhere, and then Vivekanand said like India lacks a good research or a science-oriented institution, and thereafter Jamshed Tata sir established the institution. So ever since then, IISc has seen that legend where really great folks have come here, worked here, studied here, be it Satish Dhawan, be it Sara Bhai, be it Homi Baba. So all these legends come here, and again, just like Harvard or MIT, your history or your past actually compels you to move forward. So that momentum has been maintained here, and plus the institution is very collaborative. So you really have fun, and the amount of fundamental research that happens here, it really motivates you to do a research.
So what did you experience here? No one can experience in India in any IIT. What is here?
So one thing is you'll find a lot more students here at labs. So what happens in general is at IITs, you find a relatively lesser number of PhDs and MTech students enrolled in.
PhD के सभी तो बाहर चले जाते हैं, right? Like there are not many students left, right?
Yeah. So that's why. So like at IITs, IITs bring that placement factor in mind. So most of the UG students are oriented towards cracking those good companies. So very few students are motivated to do research. Plus research is collaborative. So if you don't have a lot of folks in the lab, or if there is not a lot of departmental collaborations or across institution collaborations, things get so your research gets limited. So it's just like the frog in the well situation. The more exposure you get, the more good quality work you can do.
So we went to one of the building here where there are robotics, where there is like a lot of robots picking stuff. Usko kya kehte hain?
Manipulators.
Manipulators, which have like manipulator degree 3 like 3 degree of manipulation. So 3 degree tak they have control.
So most of the manipulators, there are 6 DOF, 4 DOFs. So degrees of freedom is basically
degree of freedom.
Yeah, degrees of freedom is basically how many independent directions you can move. So in 3D space, there are 6 DOF required to move anywhere. So there are 3 XY, and then you have rotations around those axes. But in human hand, we have 7. So like 3 here, 3 here, 1 here.
Yes, so 3 degrees of rotation.
No, degrees of freedom in humans are 7.
Degrees of freedom, okay.
Degrees of freedom. So it is basically determined by the number of joints, how many rotations you can make and things like that. So in 3D space, in order to navigate fully, you need minimum 6 degrees of freedom. But in humans, we have an extra redundant thing, which is the elbow. And that gives you 7 degrees of freedom, which helps you do a lot of things more easily.
Okay, so that is the lab we visited. That lab is famous for interdisciplinary fields. Like you can describe an average Indian in one line, a person who was passionate for computers and non-medically and got into engineering. But interdisciplinary field pursue karna means that you are standing out, you're unique, because you're combining CS with biosciences, chemical engineering, or even LLMs with traffic controllers. You're connecting a lot of fields in sciences with computer science and make a new field out of it to call it interdisciplinary. Which interdisciplinary field did you work at IISc Bangalore in your last internship?
So I was working at the intersection of urban city management and computer science. So I was responsible to build some RL agents that could optimize your traffic congestion by controlling traffic light signals. So as you know, most of the Indian cities, and I think across the world also, have a fixed timing controllers where they allot equal time to every lane. But that is not the most optimal way. So how do you leverage these learning-based methods, specifically RL, to tackle these kind of challenges, not just on one junction, but across the city?
So this is the project you're most proud of because connects reinforcement learning into, urban planning and actually helping beat congestion in modern cities like Bangalore, Delhi, etc. So this can be actually used in real-world application. Most of the research is never used in real world, never translated into physical AI or physical real world applications. But this would be. So that makes your project most unique and stands you out. Okay, so here getting into IISc Bangalore in your 3rd year, how difficult is for any average Indian in any college? Like how difficult it is? Like aapne itna easy bana diya hai by telling in this video. So we want to understand what it takes to be here.
So one thing that I feel being from a private university is not that much exposure to theoretical stuff. So professors here are very much formal. So they won't go down that step to simplify a lot of things to you. Few professors might, few professors may not. So there is that gap which you might need to fill. And that I think is one of the biggest challenges that stops UG students to go for research internships, because they don't know a lot of stuff for it. But again, one more aspect is fundamental proficiency. So how good you are with your math, that is very important. So for example, if I go to a startup or a corporate sector and apply for an ML engineer role there, they would be grilling me hard on the ML concepts, my projects, etc. But here, the biggest shock was they grilled me hard on my math. So they asked me questions on linear algebra, probability, statistics.
Your interview for IISc Bangalore?
Yeah.
Professor, the person you want to work?
Yeah.
Wow.
So so they evaluate you on the basis of these your fundamental strengths or the fundamental core concepts, and they believe like if your math and basic algorithmic intuition and aptitude is strong, you'll be able to catch up things. And I think that is also very important, because when you try to solve any problem which has not been solved yet, you need to work from first principles and like basics. So you have to build it hierarchically, and it's just not like you clone a project and then just build on top of it. It's not like those kind of projects. So you have to really be very strong with theoretical foundations, because even before acquiring a GPU to train your models, you have to convince a professor that your algorithm is going to work.
Interesting. So basically, like the interview grills you with your fundamental understanding of machine learning and reinforcement learning. But before that, even for professor to like you, you need to have that experience which he got at other IITs. So build on the experience wherever you can get, and then get your basics clear for the interviews you're going to take here and get here. Because यहाँ पे so many research interns I saw which are not even from Bangalore, not even from IITs, but they are getting opportunities here with, you know, and talking about so many fine-tuned methods that I had never experienced. They're fine-tuning dot by dot using some open source models. It's just fantastic, the amount of passion people have here and the quality of work they're doing here.
Yeah, like passion drives everything. So if you're not passionate about your work, you're not going to do anything good. And if you're passionate and if you fail at one step, you'll still try again. But if you're not passionate enough and you just fail, then you just quit. So passion is always the best motivation.
Absolutely. इंडिया में आप बताना what is the best way to grab opportunities? Like, you know, बहुत लोग stay at home referral भी मांगते हैं. Cold email is an approach which doesn't work anymore. So what I recommend is, like, you know, you have to go where people are. For example, if you want to work under this research professor, find the people who are working under that professor already. Reach out to those people and then build up from there. उनसे बात करो, क्या मैं build करूँ so that I can work under that professor. They advise you. They take you closer. And knocking doors. आप professor, किसी भी जो भी professor पसंद है, knock the door, ask what would you like me to have so that I can get an opportunity to work with you. What things work in India? These are the things that work in US.
Yeah, so like when we talk about professors in India, they don't have that much time to entertain a lot of students outside because they have so many responsibilities. So the one of the best ways to reach out a professor is through his or her PhD students. So that is what I did this time to get into the lab I'm working at now. So at my current lab, every PhD student leads some projects, and based on his or her requirement, they post opportunities for hiring interns. So I reached out to the PhD student, she interviewed me, then the professor interviewed me, they both liked me, and then they offered me an internship. Whereas the lab I was previously working at during my last summer, they had just floated a Google form, you just fill it, then you have those quizzes, interviews, series of interviews, and then you get shortlisted. Whereas while I was at IIT Gandhinagar, I reached out to the professor via again his PhD student. I called him. I met his PhD student earlier. So I called him. I told him I wanted to meet the professor. I want to work on this area. And coincidentally, the professor was in Bangalore. So I met him over a cafe. We talked a lot and then we mutually decided to work on this thing. And my first internship, which was from IIT Kharagpur, was thanks to my professor. So to any undergrad who is wishing to pursue a research, I think he should start ideally should start after his second year. Should try at least one research internship to just get that intuition whether to pursue a career in research or not, because that is also very important. Because I see a lot of folks who do PhD but they get frustrated out of it and drop out of it. And that is kind of bad because a lot of funds has been invested on you, not just stipends, but on your resources, on your education. And that project which has been taken to a certain extent has been stopped. Now you have to hire another PhD student to continue the work and a lot of. So it's just like that the industry thing, it happens. Like it's easier to keep a student. So it's better to have that clear motivation that you want to do a research or not. You want to pursue the career in research or not. So it's ideal to do at least one research internship just to understand if that methodology, because that is very general. You identify a problem, you check what are the existing solutions, you try to identify gaps, then you try to build on top of it, and then in parallel or after the work you write a paper. So paper is not the ultimate goal. The ultimate motivation should be to solve the problem that nobody has solved it before, right? Or if a problem has been solved, how do you make it more efficient? So for example, if we talk about matrix multiplication, so the best algorithm used to be Stressen, which was O big O of n to the power 2 point something. But now Google's DeepMind team has found out a new trick which even speeds up the Stressen multiplication method for certain type of matrices. So again, this was a problem that was already solved, but now you do it more efficiently.
You just understand the problems and explain your own words and share your learnings. That's what research is. And sometimes it does wonders. Sometimes it helps others to build off on it.
Yeah, exactly.
So that is the goal, like just learning and sharing.
Yeah. So one of the best examples that I told you earlier was the RLHF thing. So LLMs now are not tuned on the entire data set. You have to fine tune it according to your user. So you cannot build a data set out of your user. So they employ a technique called as reinforcement learning using human feedback. So oftentimes in ChatGPT, you see the bot generates 2 responses and asks you to prefer one, and then it customizes your rest of the responses according to your preference. So that is RLHF, reinforcement learning from human feedback. And it was motivated from a paper called as deep reinforcement learning from human preferences. And that is somewhat around how you train your RL models without having a reward function. And that was a joint collaboration between DeepMind and OpenAI. So collaboration is the key to very good quality research and solving actually real world problems. One interesting use case would be like
design.
Yeah, after every update, the DM button on Instagram shifts, right? Sometimes it's at the bottom, sometimes it's at the top.
And it figures out. So it's like...
No, it's not. It's like currently they hire developers, they test all these things out and then see where user is more comfortable. But one adaptive way would be based on, you can use something called as federated learning, which is basically training on users' personal data without sharing it to the server. So your personal data is not exposed, but it is. So the biggest example would be your autocorrection systems, your Google keyboard. So it whenever you are typing, it automatically predicts the best word that you could type based on your chat history, but your data is not shared to Google at all. So the model is trained on your own device or in certain way that your data is not exposed to public or to Google itself. So something would be some interesting use case would be your UIs and UIs adapting to your user behavior.
Correct. Like based on what colors you're choosing in a phone, it understands, oh, you like these color combinations. It'll show those color combinations in future UI that you browse. So it understands you. Abhi to it's designed by a developer. They think that the user wants this, but it'll be more adaptable. So reinforcement learning,
Reinforcement learning with human feedback.
No, I think it was human preferences.
First was the preferences.
Now human feedback.
Yeah.
Okay, awesome. Now, what would be the roadmap you will give to students who want to come and be at IISc Bangalore? Like undergrad ke liye, if they want to get in, it used to be KVPY, now it's JEE Advanced. So do you think if they want to get research opportunities at IISc Bangalore, it's easier ki agar undergrad ke liye aao and then grab opportunities, or it's easier that build your research foundation and then apply as research intern?
Yeah, so one thing is studying at IISc. So if you want to study at IISc, so at UG level currently, I think they hired through JEE Advanced. So they offer courses for BSc programs and BTech in mathematics and computing.
BSc 3 years or 4 years here?
BSc is, I guess, 4 years.
Okay.
And I guess after NEP, almost all the Indian universities are trying to shift it to a 4-year policy. So that after the end of your degree, you get an honors degree based on your research work. So they're trying to emphasize research in your curriculum itself. And for postgrad, for engineering, it's GATE exam. So you write GATE exam, you get a good rank, you are directly admitted to MTech. If you want to do a PhD directly after BTech like me, so you write the GATE exam, you qualify it, you are called for an interview or a written test, and after that you get shortlisted. And for BSc folks who want to do MSc or PhD, I think for them GATE is also an option, and IIT JAM, I guess. Again, I'm not sure about the core sciences background, but for engineering disciplines, GATE
is the best option. And like the problem is like now you have experience from IISc, right? Ab iske baad anywhere you go in India, it's a downgrade. Now, what inspired you to do PhD in India instead of going abroad?
Yeah, so that's an interesting story. So I was always motivated to do a PhD from US, and that's why I did a lot of research internships, so that I just not to build credibility, but also to identify the problem I want to work on, right? So I got this opportunity at IISc where I could work for 1 more year, build my research profile even better, and then apply to US. But now since the fundings have been stopped, I think it's not a good I don't see myself applying to PhD for the next 2 to 3 years, because since the funding sources are not that stable
in US,
there might not be really good chances of me getting an admit to good PhD institution. And plus my advisor also recommended me to do PhD from top 20 schools in US. Otherwise it's not worth it. In top 5 schools in India are better than the 21st US institution. Apart from that, Europe does not offer you a direct PhD. You have to do a master's there. And Singapore is also there, but Singapore is also very competitive. So I felt like instead of wasting 1 year, it's a good opportunity for me to explore PhD options in India. And also there is this option, like if I don't like my PhD, I can always drop out and then apply somewhere else. or after my PhD I can fly to some good institute to do a postdoc, or I could just directly go to job. And PhD folks are there across a lot of organizations like DeepMind, Microsoft Research, Adobe Research, and they collaborate amongst each other across a global channel. So there are a lot of ways through which you can again get an international exposure. Like even in India, there is this Fulbright scholarship where Government of India funds your 6 to 9 months of research work in US. So if a professor in US accepts you as a research assistant or research associate, during your PhD, you can fly to US for 6 to 9 months and it's totally funded by Government of India.
Wow.
So again, there are a lot of advantages, and plus I see a booming research in the field of AI at India as well. A lot of good institutions, most of the IITs, IISc are publishing to really good venues, NURIPS, AAAI, CVPR, etc. So I don't think India lacks behind. It's just the amount of workforce we have that is being a limit for now.
Interesting. Now, of course, this is sad year for international students research worldwide, because what happens in US affects the whole world. Now, the important part I want to ask here is, what is, for a researcher at IISc Bangalore, an ideal environment, ideal place to work, ideal place to grow in your research? What would be your dream place, environment and technology you could be provided where you will thrive?
Yeah, so being here at IISc since 6 months now and 3 months before, I think the best place to do a PhD based on my exposure is something like IISc, where you get a lot of greenery so that you can get refreshed, you have a lot of recreational activity. Plus, on the other hand, a flexibility in your research group is also very important. Your guide should be very flexible. He should be actually guiding you rather than just be acting like a boss. And PhD is all about that, identifying that problem you want to work out. It's not necessary that you already know what you'll be working on. So initial years should be actually invested on studying a lot of courses which will motivate you to pursue a research problem. So like in Indian PhD is just like a US PhD, where in initial years you do some courses, then you identify your research problem area, you propose a research statement, and then you start working on it. Whereas on Europe, there is no academic phase there. You directly join there into a project and do your PhD on that project. So identifying that research problem and being motivated enough for it is one of the best, one of the major criteria for doing a PhD. That like that itself is what contributes 80 to 85% of a PhD. Then comes your guide, your funding, your institution capacity, and things like that.
Abhi to explore kar, you figuring out research topic, problem statement, and working on it. When you do PhD, it's one problem you pick, go depth instead of breadth. Right now, bas abhi breadth pe focus kiya. So goal is, your ideal environment is you want to go into depth. So what will be your depth? If you have to choose among all the offers you have for PhD, what topic would you choose?
Unfortunately, I did not get an offer from IISc or IIT Madras, although those were my first preferences in India. I've got an confirmed offer letter from IIT Bombay, and I'll be receiving one from IIT Delhi as well. So my priorities are choosing between IIT Bombay and IIT Delhi. And then again, as I said, there are several factors like are there any professors who are actually researching in the domain I'm working, I am passionate about? How is their lab culture? How many students he has guided? What are their publication scopes? And most importantly, what is the working environment in the lab? Because again, a PhD is ideally for a bachelor's student. For a graduate student, it's ideally 5 to 6 years. So it's like being committed to a job, right? So you have to be very much sure about the working conditions there. What is your graduation criteria?
Your 20s are passed away with PhD, you know that, right?
Yeah, kind of.
Basically.
I'll be graduating by the age of 27 or 28 if I get into a PhD.
Yeah, exactly. So it's a big investment you have to think through.
Yeah, it's an investment, but I feel that I'm really passionate about actually the research in general, and I really like digging deep into the problem. And once you do your PhD, you are kind of the field expert in that domain, and I feel I'm more comfortable with the master of one thing rather than jack of all trades.
And how do you, if you have to make a roadmap, how do you thrive as a researcher in India? What would that be?
Yeah, so if you are from a STEM background, so I feel you should be very strong with your math background in general. So I see a lot of universities skipping out on math fundamentals, be it linear algebra, calculus, and things like that. So if you want to pursue a career in research or even in computer science in general, your math needs to be strong, because I feel computer science is applied math. Even at your university, you would be learning a lot of math courses over CS courses. Your Android development and would be just one course, but then there would be discrete algebra, discrete math, data structures, and all these are taught with a mathematical intuition. So computer science in general is more of an applied math thing. So you should be able to understand the math, you should be able to develop the math for CS to be specific. So you have to be really good with your fundamentals. If your university does not have good courses, that is not an excuse. You have to study it from other sources, be it NPTEL or Udemy or Coursera, from anywhere else. You have to get that foundation strong, because if your foundation is not strong, you are not going to so it's just like you are the foundation, and on top of your foundation you will be building your research work. So if you are not strong enough, your research will not be strong enough.
That is so true.
Yeah, so you have to be very good with your basics. And the second thing is the motivation. If you're motivated for a problem, you'll do it anyways.
Absolutely. So pick a problem you're motivated for. Like किसी को force नहीं करना पड़ रहा काम करने के लिए. It's coming from within. For example, the traffic problem you're solving. It's incredible. Now we are at the on-campus housing where he's living at. Now, important question about funding. Like, US लोग इसी कारण जाते हैं because they get more funds. Like at least double the housing amount. Like they can, thrive with that funding. How do you feel about the funding here?
Yeah, funding, when you compare it against other countries, after applying all the purchase power parity and everything, I feel India's funding is less, to be honest. But then again, there are certain fellowships by government of India, and it's because like our funds have been allocated to some more other areas which are relevant, but there are other better funding opportunities, but for limited and very good PhD students.
So let's say average PhD salary is 30 to 40K in most campuses.
So,
like good salary would be how much you would say?
Yeah, so when you join a PhD program, after you have qualified the GATE exam or anything, so government of India pays you 37,000 for first 2 years, and then they pay you 42,000 for rest of the 3 years.
Nice.
Yeah. So again, and that mostly completes that stipend is enough for your housing and tuition in the campus. And based on my rough calculation, every year based on that basic stipend, I can still save up to 1.5 to 2 lakhs per year.
Per year?
Yeah.
Okay, that is pretty good. But still, what would you say to Indian research institutes like IISc, IITs that they can do to retain their PhD talents?
So one obvious thing is funding. You have to increase funds so that students are motivated, and I feel you have to retain the candidates, you have to match it to an average software package. So for example, a CS grad might get around 6 to 8 LPA on an average, excluding the MNCs. Then I think you should be able to provide that much of funding so that a student is motivated enough to leave a job and continue a PhD.
Great idea. I mean, China does the same.
Yeah. So because another reason, like one of the major factors why India is still lacking behind China and US is first capital. We don't have that much capital to invest on infra and resources. And second thing is manpower. People are not motivated enough to do a PhD in India. So if
the funds are more allocated towards research, per GDP capita like China, it will be much better.
But then again, there are several scholarships like PMRF in general, where you get around 70,000 for first 2 years, and then 80,000, and it keeps on increasing. Then you get additional 2 lakhs every year for research grant, extra money for your laptop and other amenities. So government is trying to put a lot of efforts, but it still has to match US and China in order to attract the workforce.
Absolutely. Awesome. Thank you so much once again. Thank you so much, Kunal. It was great talking to you. I hope this video adds a lot of value to people who want to pursue research.
I hope after seeing this, people are motivated to do PhD in India.
Awesome.
Like it's us who will be driving India to top CS rankings.
Totally.